This is the the April meeting of our Design Review Board. We appreciate you all's participation in this process, and where we attempt to assist property owners with any changes they may make to property in the old Aiken district, overlay district, and historic districts. And we have some minutes here that our commissioners would like to review, and then I think we have some special procedure tonight because we may have people who have comments about this meeting, and Mary Catherine Lawson will now explain this process tonight only, and it may be similar in the future.
Right. Do you want me to go ahead before you act on the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So just for the board's knowledge, we are working with IT, obviously. This COVID-19 situation is unfolding. We're getting new orders. It seems like every few weeks direction from the governor's office, or every few days direction from the governor's office, or evolving directives from local administration. So we appreciate your patience and flexibility as we work to apply all of that to our meetings, our design review board meeting. And so moving forward, if we are still in this situation in May, we would hope to have moved to a completely virtual format. So we'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, we have formatted this meeting in a way that is compliant with all of the social distancing guidelines. So specifically, it was published and posted that only applicants and board members would be allowed to physically be present at the meeting, but written comments were encouraged via email. A new email address for this purpose was created. Ryan has been monitoring it. We'll continue to monitor it throughout this meeting. And just for anyone watching the live stream, that email address is drbcomment@cityofaikenSC.gov. So in light of that, Mr. Chairman, if you would allow, once you've closed public or discussion on each agenda item tonight, if you will do a final call before you call for the vote, and just let staff confirm that no additional comments have been received. We know that there can be some lag time sometime on emails coming in.
Right.
I think that's everything.
Good, thank you. And we have a quorum tonight, and that should allow us then to review the minutes for March, and I would be glad to entertain a motion on the work session and regular meeting for March.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes of the March 3rd work session and regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second to approve the March meeting minutes for the work session, regular meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion passes. And then, Madam Secretary, if you would introduce the first application.
Yes. Item A of new business, application number H20-044. Applicant David Stinson requests approval to replace the siding on his home at 566 Newberry Street Southwest. That's tax map parcel 10512170015. And for the record, we would like to add Exhibit F, insect activity, and Exhibit G, proposed color. You should have both of those before you in print. The applicant has requested to replace the existing wooden siding on his house with wood grained hardy plank, lap siding in a soft yellow color. And that's one of the exhibits before you. The applicant cites the discovery of a bee infestation and some other pest problems in his walls as cause for the need of the siding replacement. because the existing wooden siding was milled and installed in a manner that allows insects to burrow in to the walls. So he also references, and you have in your packet some photos of a neighboring property, neighboring home that want to hardy board on at least a portion of the house as precedent for replacement in the area. This is a contributing property in the Historic Overlay District. The survey, Historic Resource Survey, lists the date of construction as circa 1920. County records cite 1943 as the year of construction. You'll also note, if you looked at the intensive documentation form, that it says that the home has synthetic siding on the exterior walls. That's not the case. It is currently wooden siding.
All right, good, thank you. And then if we could ask Mr. Stinson, our applicant, to approach the same lectern and give your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, David Stinson, 566 Newberry Street Southwest.
Thank you for coming tonight. I think one thing I would like to ask is, part of the house a lap siding and part what I call novelty siding or German siding? Are there two different?
I've heard it called Dutch, but it's all that style.
It's
all milled.
Okay, it's all novelty, what I call novelty siding.
Yeah.
I see a couple of photos that were confusing me. If we scroll, I see that's novelty siding, and we even see the gaps that you're talking about. Keep rolling. Next one. Next one. There you go. Now, what is that?
That's next door.
Oh, next door.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just put that as an example.
That's lap siding.
Yes,
Okay, okay. We got it. It got interspersed in there, and it was confusing me. It said central part of house or something.
Right.
That was first.
It's an awful lot of photos.
Yeah, a lot of siding. Do y'all have any other questions?
These bees been there?
The hive was dried, so it'd been there a long time. It was not active when my workmen called me and said, "You need to come look at this." It went from, well, it filled half the wall of this bathroom wall. It was amazing. Also, I would like to point out one other thing regarding the hardy plank. If you're in front of the house to the left has a hardy plank in front, in the back, and on some of the parts of the side. The house to the right is complete hardy plank. I just want to be clear on that. It's not like this is wildly out of place for the neighborhood. And I'm a firm believer in using the wood grain ones that, 6 feet away just look like a board. I'd also, may I address a couple of issues?
Sure. Yeah.
The two dates that Mary Catherine pointed out, I believe, and this is just trying to piece together with my workmen and with architectural friends, I believe they reflect when it was built and when it was changed. There's an addition off the back that became part of the kitchen. And if you look at the early records of the house, it describes it as being rectangular. And it's not, it's L-shaped. So I think this siding went on in the 40s, which is why it's not of the, not why, which is possibly why it's not of the quality of the house next door that I also own, that is so well built. And that was done between 1900 and 1920.
Yeah.
Whoever added on and then re-sided the house did a pretty poor job. And there's a photo, the one I sent in last today, I guess that is, does that show up in here?
Exhibit F? Or the,
Well, in the house,
David, if you would, the temptation is to run over there. I've done that myself.
The
but-
house that I
yeah.
have next door, the siding is good, but the corner pieces, and the same is true of the window framing, are substantial. And the siding lines right up with it and seals the house.
Butts up into it, yeah.
If you go to a photo of the the house we're discussing, you'll see that here we go, here it comes. The trim work around the windows is very impractical. It's very thin, and same is true of the corners. It's not worked to the wood. And I've tried counting a couple times. I've lost count, but there are somewhere between 500 and 600 entry points for insects, where it goes behind the windows, behind the shutters, into the corner pieces. And once we discovered the beehive, I started going around, and like the one photo I showed of the front of the house, I don't know what's up in there, the one above the 5 to the left of the 5, but it's just digging away, and there's dust all that. There's a little gap peeking out up there.
It wasn't trimmed out appropriately for novelty.
Exactly.
Now,
It's a
are you
disaster.
taking the novelty siding off? You're taking it off and literally, like it says, replacing the
Yeah.
existing? Okay,
And
so
one of the
that'll
reasons-
solve your problem.
Another reason for that too is in looking at it,
Yeah.
there's no insulation in it at all.
Okay.
So replacing the siding would also give us an opportunity to insulate.
That's worth it right there, yeah, sure is. I bet it doesn't have any, it has room for, it's
The
insulated
quality
with
of
bees.
construction
Yeah.
is so wildly different from the houses around.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was a wartime shortage or something, but it's just one of those things that I'm not a builder, and I didn't really notice when I bought the house. I love the little house, but that just went right over my head until
Yeah.
we found the beehive.
Yeah, well, it does make you question the 1920. That was that survey that we always have problems with, but they wouldn't have built a house in that fashion in 1920, I don't think.
No.
They didn't know how to build that badly, but in personal opinion.
And also, sir, the corner house, then the next house that I own, then the one we're talking about, and then the one below it, and I think even the one below that, they all came out of that same vintage. They were all built for help for the Hitchcocks and some of the other families around, and they were all built pretty much in that same era of the 20s and just before.
And you think the novelty siding was added
In the 40s.
later than?
I think that's the source of that
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
And again, the old description of it is rectangular, and then someone later blew
Yeah.
out the kitchen and made a larger room.
Yeah. Okay, good, thank you. Do y'all have questions? I was,
I do. So David,
taking time.
I'm unclear as to whether you're wanting to change out the siding to a different style of siding to get rid of the bees, or you just want a different style siding? Because if it was installed properly, the Dutch lap, wouldn't have problems just like the other houses you have don't.
understand.
So are you trying to change the
I
siding?
was just trying to match it to the houses
The other
around
houses?
it, which all use the traditional lap siding.
Siding.
And in doing so, eliminate the insect problem.
I understand. So, you have to change out the corners and everything in order to,
Everything.
Yeah,
It's not
so-
going to be a quick process.
Right
But
now-
he will, excuse me for interrupting, another reason is he may prefer hardy board, cement board siding
doesn't come
to,
in.
you can't get novelty siding.
That's
I mean,
right.
you have to go back to another
Right.
sequence of wood.
And as I say, I don't think that was the original siding.
Right.
I'm assuming the original was more like the
Right.
other homes on the street.
And so part of your goal here is to change it back to what you think the original siding looked like.
But the look was
Yeah,
correct.
okay. And also, I noticed you've got exposed rafter tails. You're gonna maintain that look on the overhang?
Correct. I don't intend to change the look of any of it. You will see, I don't know if I have a photo that's clear but where that rafter, or that gable porch,
The photo I've got, you can see the exposed.
well, the work is, when you get to the corners
Right.
of that roof to the house, the work is dreadful. It's pieces of metal that are gapped this wide from the wall, and the design I want to keep. The quality of the workmanship I want to tighten up.
That would be good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and insulating is gonna help, you know,
Oh, Lord, yeah.
livability and all that.
Longevity.
Right. So, no, I don't have any other
And I'm
questions.
also accepting donations toward this
Okay.
project if any of you want.
Are you gonna have to change out any windows?
I don't know if that requires a second request. They're, how to put it, they're very simple, almost cheap. Unlike, again, like the other ones on the street that have simple but substantial windows. These have no ledge, you see. I would like to give them more appropriate framing, but I'm not interested in adding windows or changing the
Changing
shape or anything.
You don't want to change the windows themselves out, just the way it's trimmed
Well, I
out.
might come back and ask about that. I mean, just for insulated windows, but
Right.
I want the look to remain the same, except, like I say, I think before they went in and changed this in the 40s, my guess is it had nice ledge windows. Mr. and Ms. Green, who built most of those homes themselves, they built a nice home. Even though they were modest, they built a nice home.
You may, David, you may have to rework the casing to solve the problem unless, that is, if you're taking this novelty siding off, it's probably going to require that you take that
Yeah,
wood
because it
casing
looks like the siding,
and then do it over, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you could prepare for a new window,
Right.
even though you don't do the new windows now. It would set it up.
yeah. It looks like the casement, like you said, the
It's-
siding goes under it and then the casement's
It's
on top of it.
nailed on
Right, it's
top.
just nailed over it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Now, we'll keep rolling, and we have the potential of people commenting. We'll see if we haven't gotten any emails about it, or some, you don't have bees now, though. They're gone.
The bees in the bathroom are gone. They're just other little boogers in other corners.
Okay. Maybe we'll have somebody who'd be interested in the bees who'll contact us. Thank you.
We could put it, they mentioned putting a tap in for the honey, but
Right. Thank you. Okay, I don't believe we would have any comments, any other comments here from the current attendees. And y'all let us know if you got any emails. Would you all like to make a motion, someone?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, with respect to application number H20-044, I move that we approve the application as submitted.
Okay. All right, any further discussion?
I really believe this is taking the siding back to a more appropriate siding. And, and, you know, he's talking about doing the whole house, so it's gonna look like a complete job. It's not being piecework. And the siding was installed, incorrectly with all the trim boards. So, I think it's a good idea especially for the longevity and the historical character of the home,
Right.
to proceed.
He's solving a lot of problems
Right.
that, such as insulation and then trim that is allowing insect infestation, but in the long run, getting more durable siding. And so the novelty, we'll have to research novelty siding, see when it came about, but it's fairly recent.
Yeah, I think that if there are a change out of windows, that will need to come to the board. So,
Right. We would anticipate that the casing would necessarily be changed because that's what's in there wrong right
Right.
now.
Right.
But if he wanted, he could certainly bring that back. and we'll look at our matrix to see. It's a contributing property, it says. So, good. Any other discussion? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of the, no emails, no contact from the public. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Okay, thank you.
If I may, I hope the only Corona hand you have is the beer.
Yeah, thank you.
The next item of new business, number H20-045, applicants Robert W. Stencavage and Kathie James request approval for the construction of a single-family residence at 241 Horry Street Southeast. That is tax map parcel 12110260015. And I would ask that for the record, Exhibit E be added, and that is additional drawings. Do you all have a copy of those? Okay.
You mean these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the ones that we
Oh, yeah,
looked
yeah.
at in the work. Thank you. Work session. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And we need to note those as exhibits, what? E? Both of them are E. Okay? And those are sections of the garage primarily, and also a typical wall section for the residence. Okay.
Okay, so the applicant has requested approval for the construction of a new single-story cottage-style house at 241 Horry Street Southeast. This is currently a vacant parcel. And details about the materials and colors are included in your packets.
Okay. We'll invite the applicants to approach the lectern, please. And if you would, give your name and address for the record.
Kathie James, 918 Colleton Avenue, Southeast.
Robert Stencavage, 918 Colleton Ave, Southeast.
Okay. Good. Thank you for coming tonight. And we addressed some of the questions. There weren't a lot of questions, but some of the details. And to do with ceiling heights, and I think you've got some pretty nice drawings. That's helpful. One thing that now we can confirm we didn't talk about in the work session, but this is actually a house on a crawl space.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a conditioned crawl space.
Yeah. Okay.
Conditions.
Do y'all have any questions?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the plat for a minute. I don't see a page number, but it's about 4 pages in our handout. So it looks like what you've done is you've subdivided the back half of that bigger lot with the main house in there.
That was done approximately 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay. But the brick wall still goes all the way around the whole property, right?
Sir.
Okay. And so are you going to put a brick wall back in between the new house or leave it open to the main house?
The estate owner abutting is building a brick wall between.
Okay.
We are not.
Okay. All right.
And the house is
So
about,
you've got to have 2 openings. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
There's a drive-through opening there now, and later you're going to do a walkway opening,
We're
right?
considering a walkway opening, but we're not applying for that at this time.
Okay. And the drive-through opening would line up with the current single-car garage. Is that a double car? I don't remember what the fence was.
Single door.
In the fence?
For the fence opening is 10'9",
Gotcha.
and the garage is a single door, not a double door.
Right. And so is that the reason you chose not to put 2 doors in the garage? Because it looks like you got plenty of square footage to have a double-car garage.
We share a car.
Okay,
We only own 1 car, so we only have a need for 1-car garage, yes.
okay. So the rest of that would just be storage for you, right?
Workshop storage.
Yeah, yeah.
Workbench.
Cool. Makes
Lawnmower.
sense. Sorry, just wondering.
Do you, have you listed the type of windows for the,
Architectural series of a vinyl window, probably YKK, and it's going to have simulated divided light.
They don't make the same window that we had in our last home anymore.
So we found a locally made equivalent window.
it's not a PVC window, it's an actual vinyl window?
Actual vinyl extruded window, yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
good success in our current home with them. We've used them in other projects, and they work well, and they're very
Is there a
efficient.
brand name that,
It's called YKK.
That should be in your handout as well.
It's out of
It's out of
Georgia. And it's the last house we built, Ply Gem 600 series, which is architectural grade with STLs and architectural sills. And this is the equivalent of that our lumber supplier is carrying now.
Does it have outside grids?
Yes.
It is? Okay, just curious.
The wide instead of the skinny ones.
The half-moon window is that consistent with any architect in the area?
Yeah, there's a bungalow on Marion that has an eyebrow dormer that's incorporated a vent for roof ventilation. We're just trying to put something of architectural note in the massive roof that is showing over the wall onto Horry, and we figured that that was appropriate, but it's an unfinished upstairs, so it's just going to be a architectural decoration.
and it'll actually be a glass window rather than a vent? It won't be a louvered
Fixed
vent.
glass, it'll be insulated with STL Muntins.
Now, this YKK, is that what it was, YKK? And they are comparable to what you had before, which is,
They're a real close facsimile to what we currently have, which is a Ply Gem 600 series, which is no longer made.
and is it a vinyl window too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of people with, submitting different varieties of windows from, one vinyl all the way up to clad wood and so on. So it's always good for us to know kind of what's in the market. This is not on a, I think this was not described as a, it's in the historic district, but it's not, it's a non-contributing property.
It's like the main house or the new
The
house?
I guess the main house wasn't considered a contributing property, is that what?
I think there's a separate parcel, I didn't research that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
okay.
think it is.
I think it is.
We can tell you it is a not contributing property.
The big
They're
house.
asking
Oh.
about the estate.
Okay.
Don't know
Correct.
on the
Yeah.
adjacent property.
I think it would be.
I would think it would be too.
Looks like
It
it
was
should
built
be.
in 1924.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's listed.
But if it's a vacant lot, it's kind of got to be non-contributing.
Right, no, yeah, correct, agreed.
You want to? Ryan, thank you.
Yeah, I looked that one up. It is a contributing property.
The big house.
The big house.
Yeah,
Big house.
yeah. Okay, any other questions? About how far back is it from the street, roughly?
It's going to be approximately
20 feet to the
24
garage.
feet. Approximately be 24 feet from the garage to the wall.
Okay. Mhm. Just enough really to park a car outside the garage and be on your property then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? And no comments from outside the room? Okay, so far. Good, thank you.
And a special thank you to Mary Catherine, who caught a couple errors on our application and corrected them before submitting. Thank you.
Yeah, Mary Catherine doesn't miss much.
We wouldn't expect any less.
Okay, now, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion, if you all wouldn't mind, and then we can discuss it if need be.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve application H20-045 as proposed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the application as submitted, raise your right hand. Okay, all approved. Thank you.
This house is the main estate house, in case you didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Red roof.
I think this house would be a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Yeah, it'd be a good buffer.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Next item, new business is application number H20-046. Applicant Grant Larlee requests approval for the construction of a detached carport at 402 Colleton Avenue Southeast. That's tax map parcel 121-09-07-007. And this applicant is on standby via phone. So if you have any questions or need clarification, please let me know and I'll get him on the phone for you all.
That's Mr. Larlee who's on standby?
Yes, and the following agenda item is the same. They're available on via phone. The applicant has requested approval to construct a detached carport to be 4 feet by 18 feet. The fascia soffit and siding will match that of the existing home in color and material, and the roof will match that of the existing rear shed. There are photos of all of that, those existing structures in your packet.
So I presume that this going right where they're showing the pictures of the car?
Yes, so it would not be visible off of Colleton Avenue. If you go down Union Street, tucked behind the wall there. Here we go. Right through that drive gate on Union Street is where they're proposing to place it.
Are there any setback issues with that?
No, I've discussed all the setback requirements with him. He's aware that he can meet his neighbor, the primary structure on the adjacent lot, and he's measured all of that out. So there should not be any setback requirements. He's
Okay.
well acquainted with what they are, or setback issues.
Thank you. Do we actually have a drawing of what it's going to look like?
Yeah,
So
it's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere.
It's toward the
Oh,
end.
you have to go past all the car pictures.
Oh, yeah.
no, it's towards the beginning of the
before the car
application packet. If you start with Exhibit A, flip past the maps, it's on the back of the last map you see.
Oh, is this it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then the material details, like I said, he references the existing structures. He's gonna be consistent with those materials.
Apex, fascia, and soffit, what does that mean? McDonald?
Where do you see that?
It's on the diagram page in the top right diagram. It's got an arrow pointing.
Apex.
EPEX.
I think that's artificial trim material. I'm not familiar with it, but that's obviously what it is, EPEX, if you want.
Wrap beam
Somebody
with
wants to Google
EPEX. So
it.
is that kind of some kind of like an aluminum, I guess, if they're wrapping a beam with it?
Beam with, not necessarily, it could be a one-by type material. If somebody wants to Google it, they can,
I'm Googling.
yeah, see what it is. It's 9 feet is,
Oh, we can call Grant.
yeah.
We can-
Yeah, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and discuss a little bit.
Make sure we have our
And
questions together.
make sure we get all the questions we want to ask.
Also, I noticed they've got a vinyl ceiling in that same diagram, the bottom left corner. But I don't think that's consistent with the rest of the house. I think the rest of the house has wood soffit and porch ceilings.
Right. And I would wonder why it really needs to be 9 feet high. I suppose if you had a camper, you might need it to be 9 feet. It looks, for a
ceiling
For an
height.
automobile, it's a 10-foot ceiling in there.
But the brick wall around it's pretty substantial there, isn't it? Or is it low?
Yes.
Is it low?
No,
It's high.
I had to peek through the gate and I to look at where it was going to go. So no, I don't think you can see it.
Green. You can barely see the roof of the
Yeah.
existing shed back there.
It's probably 7 or so, 7 or 8 feet.
Side fence. Do we know exactly how far in from the gate it is?
Do we have a lot
There's not really a,
floor plan, like a...
there's a floor
lot-
plan,
lot
there's not a
plan?
site plan, there's a,
Site plan, but it's matching the setback of
Yeah.
that neighbor.
Look on the second page of the application, and he's got it drawn in with a black pencil, proposed carport site. No, that was the page right there. See? So it looks like it's, 6 or 8 feet off the fence, maybe?
I see there, yeah,
It's hard to say exactly.
yeah. Okay. Okay, do y'all have other questions?
Next is the European Power Exchange.
That's what I found.
Okay. Kind of doubt that'll be installed.
It's a stock pick, huh? Okay. EPEX, might be the wrong term.
No, I found a reference to an EPEX 30S solid material. Solid, tight grain, tight knot, kiln dried, high quality treated SPF line of products.
It may be
It
real
sounds like
wood.
treated.
Sounds like
treated
real wood.
Yeah, it
Lines,
does.
top of the line, solid choice for fascia, soffit, and rake, decorative columns, corner boards, door and window trim.
Good, okay.
All right,
Okay, so
well,
we sort of know, we can verify that it's actually a dried lumber trim. Okay, and then the height is it not, see, cars are 5.5, 6 feet high, most of them.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want it too small. If I was there, I would want it 8 to 9 feet. I mean, if you changed out and bought a taller truck or something, you could have a 7.5-foot vehicle,
Yeah,
even though the car that they currently have
yeah,
is not that high.
okay. Well, he probably has that thought through, it just thought I'd ask that. Mhm. All right, now, any other questions that we want to, we could get him on the phone and ask
You
him?
mentioned, clarifying on the EPEX, the height, and someone had a concern about a vinyl.
Vinyl ceiling, not consistent with the rest of the property, and also the distance of the carport from the fence.
We think that the post, it looks like the posts go a couple of feet into the soil.
It does. It's the way it's drawn.
Yeah, they need to, I think.
So you're wanting to confirm that?
Yeah, that's, and I suppose this will go through the building department after it goes through here.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Okay,
It should receive a building permit. He should be able to hear you from there.
Hello.
Hey, Grant. This is Mary Catherine. We have you
Yes, ma'am.
on speakerphone at the meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
I better behave then.
yes. You got it. So just a few questions and points to clarify from the board. You want me to?
Okay.
Yeah, read them.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can probably hear better if you do it.
Okay,
Okay.
so we see the note that EPEX, the material EPEX is gonna be used. That was a new one for us. Can you just confirm that that's it sounds like a dry treated lumber material? Is that accurate?
Yeah, EPEX is just, it's basically a board that we use. It comes already finished and then we paint it, but it looks no different than any other of the wood boards. It just has a treatment on it, and it's used for all of our fascia and trim boards and things like that.
hey, Grant, this is McDonald. Thank you for being available here. We were just curious, is this a real wood material then? It's actually natural?
Yes, it's
Huh?
the same as products like Windsor One and Miratech. It's used for trim. It doesn't have the wood grain like a Miratech. It's smooth. It's like a Hardy, but it's actually it's a wood that goes through a treatment process.
Okay, and it's already shrunk, it's already dried, so it doesn't shrink like some artificial material might.
Correct.
Okay, good. I think the other question I had is, did they specifically want the 9-foot clearance?
Ceiling height.
Did you hear that, Grant? The question was, did the property owner specifically request the 9-foot clearance ceiling height?
No, I mean, I put that in there because I wasn't exactly sure on the height, but I thought 9 foot would give us what we want. We could drop it if we need to.
Yeah, we might give you the latitude. Some of your trucks might require 9 feet. It does appear to be a little bit tall there, but that's just
Well,
might
you
be a
have a
personal.
preference on the height?
Yeah.
What
Do
is
I
it?
have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 8 feet probably would be fine. Trucks.
Yeah, I'm not
your-
against dropping it.
Yeah, I think that might help it. And then if Josh were here, he would probably weigh in. The fact that you're going to go get a building permit, but they'll review the posts are going into the ground, and that's what's stabilizing it. That's correct? I believe, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Carports in some ways are more challenging than garages for that reason.
They are. You know, we tried to figure out the best way to do an attachment either on a footer or a sono tube, and we came up with the best idea what to do with a post.
Yeah. And that way you don't have brackets. You may not want brackets up at the top.
What?
At the post.
Well, and if I do it with a sono tube and then have a bracket, I can use like a Simpson bracket, and then I can actually hide that bracket. They make what they call a knife bracket, and it will knife into the wood, and then I bolt through, and then I can wrap the base of that with trim that you wouldn't see the bracket if I decide to do it that way.
Right, okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't know what you might anticipate in terms of actually constructing it. So, okay, we've got, these are pretty good little drawings that you've done, scale drawings, which is helpful. And then I think I might, and unless you have a problem with dropping it it's 8 foot should be plenty, and it might not appear to be quite so tall. And even an automobile parked under that will make it even appear more tall than you might want it. So, good.
Right.
Now, let's see, was there any other question?
Distance from the fence.
Yeah, now, it appears that it must be, what, 6 to 8 feet in from the gate itself?
Correct.
Okay, okay. Now, we had one other question about the ceiling. Somebody mentioned the vinyl soffit ceiling. Is there any other material you could use there that would, I don't think...
Or is that consistent with the rest of the house, is what I was really wondering, Grant?
I could do a hardy on the soffit, and then I think I can be fine. And then the ceiling inside, they make the beaded vinyl. I don't know that would be really visible, but if I do Epex on the fascia and hardy on the soffit, that would be fine.
What's the porch ceiling made out of?
No,
they're probably tongue and groove wood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a bead would be appropriate, or are you talking about
Yeah,
more
that's
of
why I was going to do the beaded vinyl, just because it's away from the house and it's not really it's not attached, and try to give her a little bit of lower maintenance on the ceiling.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. That's all. We just we
Just
were
asking. Just asking.
Curious. It just said vinyl ceiling. So, good. Any other questions? Okay. No. Okay.
It would be the beaded porch ceiling vine that once it's up there, it's hard to tell it's not a wood.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Thank you, Grant. I think that answered our questions. Appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Now we'll still no email comments. So we'll ask for a motion. Someone would like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend application H20-046 for approval as written,
Well,
except for the 8-foot ceiling change.
it's actually a 9-foot ceiling. I think it'd be an 8-foot clearance.
Beam height.
Beam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
With that one exception.
Yeah, just to drop it down a little bit.
You don't want to do anything about the vinyl?
He was clarifying that it's actually a vinyl bead.
Yeah.
But y'all,
Yeah, I'm okay with the way it is, but if you want to change
that's fine with me.
it, we can make a recommendation.
It's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, you made the motion. Okay, and got a second? Okay, any other?
Yeah, I think you do want to make it clear that your 9 foot to 8 foot is the change in the dimension shown in the exhibit.
Right.
Because obviously it's greater than 9 foot open to the actual top.
Right.
That's right, it's got about a 10-foot ceiling now, so it'll be more like a 9-foot ceiling with an 8-foot beam height.
Right. The clearance is the part you were trying to get to.
Yeah, most garage doors are probably 8 feet.
So changing the clearance from 9 feet to 8 feet is.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think, if I'm looking at it right, the clearance, they don't show that beam going across the front. Right?
I think I'm looking at a front right there, and it's going across the front. He's got a section there that shows the 2 beams on the sides.
I think that's the back.
Well, the front,
So
it
at the
says
bottom-
front and rear elevation.
Yeah, and the gable is lined up with the car, so the gable's running lengthwise, it's not.
I'm looking at the section through, the lower right-hand section.
Correct.
Okay. And they don't show the beam on that where they show the footers and the
Right.
framing. Right,
They show a 9-foot beam on the sides.
that's right.
And they could have drawn in something in the rear, which would have been the beam in the rear, but they didn't do that.
But on the front and rear elevation, you can see there is a 9-foot beamed wrap with Apex on the left
That's
bottom,
right.
left
Okay.
bottom drawing.
That's right. We
So
think
I
we-
think he intended the one on the right to be more of a framing drawing, and
All
the
right.
one on the left is more of a,
That's fine.
an elevation.
That's right. That beam goes all the way around if you look at the elevations, rear and sides. Okay, now we've clarified that, and in the questions we had, all in favor of the application here as, with that modification, raise your right hand, please. Okay, the motion is approved. Thank you.
The final item of new business is application number H20-047. Applicant Lorian Peralta-Ramos requests approval for the replacement of a gate and alterations to a perimeter wall located at 347 Union Street Southeast. That's tax map parcel number 121-09-05-005. Again, the applicant is available via phone call should you have any questions, but I'll give you some background. So the pictures are pretty telling. This property sits at the corner of South Boundary and Union Street. There's a perimeter fence along Union Street and most of South Boundary of painted wood. And then connected to this at the periphery of the property is a small portion of the property. A small portion of the property on South Boundary is enclosed by a painted cinder block wall. So that section belonged to the neighboring property, and they purchased it, at some point in relatively recent history, hence the difference in wall styles. So they desired to make that section more consistent with the color and design and height of everything else, but the rest of the wall along those two street fronts. So they took this cinder block wall, added onto it in wood, and painted it black to match the color and height of the rest of the wooden wall on the perimeter of their property. They also replaced the drive gate there on South Boundary. It was black painted wood. It is still black painted wood. There's a slight difference in design. There was a curved top, now it just goes straight across. So this is coming before you though because it is an open tax assessment property. And they opted for, I explained to them, and they received the letters we sent this summer about their option to go back and establish a preservation zone. But because they've just got a couple of years left on their assessment period, they didn't want to go through all that. So they're subject to that section of the ordinance that requires any additional work come before the full board at a public hearing. So this wall and gate wall alteration, gate replacement would normally be subject to administrative review, but you all are tasked with reviewing it based on the design guidelines and the preservation standards, which are included in your
And it was
staff
done
report.
when? This was done in the
It was
last
done within the last,
few months?
yeah, it's done, yes, so critical point, it is done. It's been done. I think one of our zoning officials.
I thought Grant was
Noticed
the
it.
property manager for this property.
Don't know.
What'd you?
Grant Larlee, I thought he said he was the property manager.
Oh, I don't think Grant's involved in this one.
Yeah, I kind of
Thought he
guessed that.
No?
No, he was just the last one. I haven't
All
heard
right,
his
so
name in
which
association
part of the
with this.
fences, looking at the top, the bird's eye view, yes.
Yes,
What part of fences are we talking about here? Right there, okay. That was modified already. That's where they want the gate.
that's where There was a gate,
right? And they
there's
eliminated it?
and they replaced it.
Square gate.
So this
it's
photo
taller.
shows, you see where it drops down, you can probably see it better on your screens. But to the left, where their property ends and the neighboring property begins, it's what appears to be an unpainted or a faded painted cinder block wall. That's what this was. They wanted to make it uniform with the rest of the wall fence on their property, so they just affixed some wood to the top of the cinder block wall, painted it black, and then replaced the wooden gate with a very similar wooden gate, citing that it was very deteriораted.
But it was a curved top.
So this is the blow up.
Yes, that shows, that's a blow up of the transition,
That's what it looks like now.
yes.
So, and then basically I can see where they added a few feet of wood to the top and then painted it.
Yeah, before it
All
looked like
black.
that where there's clearly a line.
All right.
It looked like the unfinished cinder block before.
Right.
Now, looking at,
Is the wall between the two properties got this higher wood height to it?
I don't know, I haven't seen any images of a wall between the two properties.
Okay.
In that aerial view?
Well, it had a line drawn, but I don't know if it was a
All the
wall.
way
Yeah.
On the back?
and that change is actually a property corner then, Mary Catherine, is it not?
I guess I assumed
That means
was
that's the property line.
Yes,
all wall.
Although they own both parcels now, is that what I heard or
well,
not?
they own up until where the black begins.
Okay, now, the next picture you have there, it shows, I think, the gate on the left, the blow-up picture here. It's got the gate on the left, and then it goes across, and it still continues with that block and wood on top section.
Yes.
Okay. But all they did through there was I guess they still added wood to the top and painted it black.
So anywhere there was cinder block on their property, they went through and added the wood and painted black. And it's just limited to this relatively small section
I
at
got you.
the very edge of their property.
The rest of it is mostly
All
shrub,
wood.
right? It's wood, but you can't see it because it's shrubs or thick hedge or, no?
So you can see a lot of it.
Can you?
Hold on, see, this is a view from the
Oh,
corner
okay,
of
all
South
right.
Boundary.
That's right. I hadn't walked through there.
What I have a problem with, and I'm having trouble understanding it, is why you'd abruptly stop with some sort
It's
of
not their property
awkward,
line anymore.
it was the property line.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a little tiny bungalow sort of in the back.
Yeah.
And that's what they bought. So I presume that the rest of the wall belongs to somebody else.
Well, the people on the corner with the
Yeah,
barn-style roof, or
Yes.
we went through that house too.
Dr.
Yeah,
Kiesler.
Yeah, that's right.
Not
Kiesler's
Kiesler.
wall, that's the Kiesler's wall then, the
No,
little.
no. This is across the street from Kiesler's house.
So
Nope,
the
nope.
parcel at the intersection
Side by
of
side.
Fairfield and South Boundary, that, they have the cinder block wall.
All right, you're right. I'm wrong. See, that is Kiesler's house.
So that little section of block is the Kiesler's wall. And it did continue on into these folks' property, but they wanted to try to match up with their black,
Yes.
and so they've added this on top. It's,
So that's a long view of
Yeah.
the transition.
I saw work going off on, over the last months, trying to figure out what was going on.
And so the reason that this is here after the fact is because of the recent changes that we made.
Is because it would have needed a certificate of appropriateness.
They just didn't
and
request
they-
it.
But they didn't request it
Okay,
at all.
so it doesn't have anything to do with the tax parcel or any of that stuff. It's just,
Right.
or the tax
Replacing a gate and modifying a wall in the historic district would be subject to design review.
But when they got the letter, they thought they needed to come ask for permission after that.
Right, I reached out to them once I can't remember if this originated from a complaint, or an external complaint, or if it was noted in the field by one of our zoning officials.
Okay.
But I was given the heads up that this was happening, and then I reached out to them to say, you need a certificate of appropriateness, and then learned that they were an open assessment property, which put them into the more stringent level of review, full board review versus.
So they didn't come to you, you reached out to them?
Correct.
It's a mess. If I can keep on it.
The black, when we initially saw it, it was unpainted. The wood had not yet been painted, so it was a very obvious modification at that point. Painting black makes it, you're seeing it in its finished
In its glory.
state. Yes.
Okay. But that wood, section of wood is just stuck on the top of the brick wall.
Yeah, I didn't get, I
Block
went
wall.
out to take pictures. I didn't
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
examine how exactly they had fixed
Yeah.
it, but I know they could answer that if if you want to call them.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the column that we're seeing in this particular blow up, that's actually the gate, the column kind of at the gate, because this is the gate right here.
Right.
Yeah, it's odd because the gate would have been a perfect place to stop this, and probably was the way it was before. What we need to know is what was, there it is. That's the previous one right there?
It's not a great quality photo, but that's
Yeah.
what I pulled from Google
Yeah,
Earth.
yeah, I see. So
Like previously.
it looks like the wood fence was added to the, both sides of it now, I'm seeing.
It looks to be a little higher.
Well, do y'all have any ideas here?
So they summarize in their application narrative that the Union Street property is surrounded by a 6-foot wooden vertical slat fence. The south boundary property that they acquired had a 4-foot cinder block wall and a capped 5-foot cinder block pillar on either side of the driveway, from which hung a 6-foot wooden vertical slat gate. And they raised the cinder block wall and posts to 6 feet to conform with the Union Street fence using vertical wooden slats. That's in their words.
Yeah, this is a good example of why we have the design review board, and generally you bring things in ahead of time.
Unaware that this
Yeah.
required a certificate before they did the work.
You know, if the cinder block wall is 4 foot high, looks like the wood wall attached makes it something greater than 6 foot. Because it's greater than half the height of the cinder block.
But it matches the fence on the other side. It's the same height as what's,
Yeah, 6 or 7 feet of wood fence coming in from the right-hand side.
yeah, so it's.
And it's just
this all
carried right
matches.
on through the gate, yeah, until it stops at the Kiesler's property.
Yeah, I think the thing that bothers me the most is that we changed the block. You know, the block didn't really like change materials, we just painted a line in the block. I think that's the part that bothers me the most. I don't think I'm bothered so much by the height.
Yeah,
The applicant, the applicant said that it had been painted, that section of wall, and so I'm assuming that includes the neighboring property, was painted at one time, but it's like completely peeled off with
Right.
age and weather.
Would you think it'd be better if you painted that block wall a more natural color to the adjacent concrete? So at least you don't have that. I thought this was an adobe, I thought they did an adobe.
Power, we just kind of drew it in there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure it was really painted, but it is painted. Would that help if you don't have that artificial line of a half-painted wall?
Well, I mean, is that artificial line what's bothering you? I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Because you've got basically two materials divided two different ways. So,
so if we had them to paint the concrete and block wall all the way to its full extent on their property, not on Keesler's property, of a red or some other color where it was contrasting color.
well, Mayor Catherine, is there any block wall on the
Yeah.
right-hand side of the gate?
Yeah,
There is some over on the right-hand side, too?
that's
I
in
can't really
photo.
tell.
It's in one of the photos.
It goes a little ways. I see that now. Well, I don't.
Here's this photo
I see
with the blink sign right here.
Yeah.
It's the opposite photo of what you have in your hand. If you flip over the next page. No, just flip the package over.
Yes.
See, that goes from the gate to the right.
Another 12 feet or so.
Right.
Okay.
The same thing's happening there with the wood on top.
Right.
We don't know it's on top or whether it's behind. Okay.
In a perfect world, if money was no object, I would have probably had them tear the block wall down and put a wooden fence in. You know,
Right. Because the block wall was really a part of another
it's a disjointed
parcel.
property.
Yeah. Now it's somebody else's wall on your property, kind of.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
It's a-
But it was sold.
Right.
Right.
And how odd would it look if you had the, I think if you painted it, you painted something close to what the rest of the,
To Keesler's property.
yeah, the rest of the wall was, more like if you left it unpainted. But then you'd have this black wood fence sticking up behind it. That's all you have to remember. It may not be a good solution here.
Well, it doesn't look like the fence is behind it. It looks like it sits on top of it.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure what color I would describe Dr. Keesler's fence.
The gray? Yeah.
Weathered,
Well,
natural.
the
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd be having them paint the other side of the block that continues on to their true, at some point, there's a true wooden fence, painted black,
Right.
Right.
12 feet over. Okay, Madam Secretary, do you have a recommendation?
Do not ask me for a recommendation.
Well, you've been
I
looking at
presented
this, you've been
the
looking at this
information to you.
a little bit longer than we have. It really, there's no obvious solution that just jumps out at me.
Did you all drive by the property? Could you notice?
Yeah, it looked fine. I mean, it looked okay.
It's just a little awkward when you zoom in on it. Ryan, do you have a comment?
The only thing that came to mind as you were discussing if it was the vertical difference is whether there could be a vertical element added to the wall that would separate it into essentially two separate sections of wall, at least aesthetically.
Where we've got these sort of strong horizontals, it's not just a block wall, it's a block wall with an
Brick, yeah.
interspersed with with a 2-inch band. And I guess what you might be suggesting is that they face it with some true wood slats in front.
Or paint, use color to differentiate
Yeah, that's
between
what I
the
was
two
thinking.
materials, right?
What if we had them to repaint it? I mean, you could put the alternating cap and block a different color even, and it would look very attractive possibly, depending on what colors you chose.
But it's still going to be a hard, I think Ryan's making a good point here, that you've got this horizontal thing with a bunch of verticals on top, and then the horizontal is painted a different color from the adjacent horizontal. So Ryan, were you saying you might actually paint something that would appear to be breaks in the boards, literally?
I was thinking more, not necessarily breaks in boards, but at least where the two property lines meet and there's the definitive kind of continuance of a wall that's painted one way on one side and one way on another, that there might be an opportunity to have some sort of just a brief little finish there that would kind of break it into two separate walls.
So even putting a post on the outside the wall or something.
I think you're onto something there, yeah.
That would help,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
The
Break it up.
perimeter? Okay.
Then you don't have to worry about the block that's painted black over on the other side. You just, I think that's what's
The clear
looking
delineation.
so odd, is that it's like the painter left, and didn't come back. So
Smoothing the transition.
let's see if they can come back with an option of maybe it's just a wood 8-inch wide wood post is another idea. Another idea would be an actual brick column.
Yeah.
The idea would be a brick column to match that one right there, and then you finished it, and you get a regular block on the side, and we won't care so much about the horizontal painting if we've got a break. That's a good idea. We're focusing in on what the real awkward portion of this is, because we don't want to have him rebuild all the way back down to the other side of the gate.
No.
So let's do that. Why don't you, now would we call, you said we could call them?
We can call them if you want to explain your concern and feedback. If you don't have any questions or would rather me just relay that, then I would be happy to do that.
Well, I think what we could do is we could actually have a motion that includes both those options, and with strongly encouraging that it be masonry, but at the minimum that it be wood. And you guys can form the motion.
And then that could come back for administrative approval.
Yeah, but it sounds like I'm hearing a consensus here that we need a vertical post that finalizes the black. And it would appear that if you made out of masonry, it would stop at the height of that other brick column. That would be the preferred one, where you just duplicate that column right there and paint it black.
Right.
That'd be the preferred one, and then a backup could be that you put some sort of wood column there, that in that case, the wood would probably go to the top of the wood fence.
Yeah.
So that's not quite as,
Which masonry column are you referring to?
The one on the right.
one on the right in this picture.
One by the gate.
Go to this
The
picture.
blow-up picture.
The one that holds, the gate is hung?
You see here?
Do you have
This
that?
picture?
Do you have that picture, Paul, if you would?
And you want to match the
It's the-
height before they added the wood on top?
Want them to match the brick column with the cap, the block column, brick column with the
Finding it,
cap.
Paul, on your screen.
Make a corner column,
Okay.
Keep going. This will blow up. The blow up right here. The blow up isn't in there.
Here it is, that one
That's
right
it. Okay, so you can see probably better than I can, but there's a brick column with a cap on it.
Right.
The ideal would be, can they put in a half of it's going to have to be like a pilaster, half of a column right at the end where the black stops.
Okay.
to make a corner, and then it would be painted black, just like that one.
Just duplicate that one right there. That'd be the ideal, and it goes up the same height.
Yep.
And my question was, the height of the actual brick column, we're not including the wooden.
Correct.
addition
Match
on
that
it.
column.
Correct. That might be our preferred, we haven't made a motion, we're still coming with a
Well-
solution. But that would be one option, would be if you're gonna do the masonry now, we can see. The other one, if you did it out of wood, you'd probably just make it cap out at the top of the wood. Y'all can decide on that.
You mind drawing that on there for us?
Yeah, with a
So-
laser
so-
pointer.
Yeah.
I think, Mary Catherine, I believe we ought to just call afterwards and not get embroiled in a detailed discussion on the column height.
Okay.
So what I propose to do is move to continue this, and that they would be able to submit
Right.
a drawing for either a masonry or a wood column at the end.
That's good.
Why don't we just say masonry?
Oh, okay, do we have a motion to continue
Well,
then?
I don't know, I think wood.
You think so?
Yeah, and are we going to approve it here, or can it be approved administratively?
If you
Well, to
didn't
continue
continue
it,
it,
yeah.
Okay, all right, well, let's look at it again.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
second.
Okay, motion is second to continue it to the next meeting. We'll have a next meeting, but that would allow people to do a little homework and look at the heights of these things. But you can communicate
yes.
some of these thoughts about the ideal being if you could duplicate that brick column, it wouldn't take but 4 inches of brick and some sort of cap. Okay, all in, the motion then is to continue this to the next meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you. So I believe does that conclude our meeting tonight? I believe it does.
We adjourn.
Okay, thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.